Good evening. Welcome to Drew University and our Transfer Student Webcast. My name is Horace Tate, and I'm the Director of College Enrollment Outreach here at Drew. We're so excited that you're considering Drew as one of your schools of choice. Why the excitement? Well, it's because you've considered attending one of the finest liberal arts institutions in the nation. Now, what puts us in that category? Well, simply put, it is our practice of full impact learning. Now let's quickly examine exactly what that means. Well, we here at Drew define full impact learning as why you learn, what you learn, how you learn, and where you learn, and finally, when you graduate. Now let's repeat that. It's the why, what, how, and where you learn, and finally, when you graduate. Now, let's examine each one of those. First, why you learn. And that's to foster pure joy as well as a great career, to nurture a truer self as well as a better society. Now that's what Drew delivers by design, learning for life, whatever it takes. Now, what you learn. We have 7 skills for success that we have built into our curriculum. First, research, observation, and experimentation. Now this encourages you to explore areas that are a mystery to you, finding the answers. Second, now something that Socrates and Galileo embraced early on in Western civilization, critical thinking and problem solving. Third, creativity, design, and innovation. This teaches you to think out of the box and not to be afraid to challenge the status quo. Now this is a must for the workplace of the 21st century. Fourth, collaboration and teamwork. This teaches you to partner with others to create synergy in the workplace. Fifth, written, oral, and visual communications. This teaches you and how to instruct others, how to target your message to an audience so you can make a convincing argument. Let's continue with what you learn. Number 6, cross-cultural understanding and communication. This learns you to bridge the divide and connect lives, something that we really need in today's culture. 7, leadership, self-direction, and self-awareness. Now this teaches you the important skills that will help you inspire and install confidence in others. A very, very important skill one needs to be an effective manager in an organization. Now let's go to how you learn. First, professors are full-time and fully committed to our undergraduates here at Drew. Second, professors teach, mentor, inspire, and care about students. Third, students map their intellectual journey with Drew as their guide. Fourth, this is one of our strongest aspects here. Students strive in a challenging curriculum and an encouraging community. This is a very encouraging community here at Drew. And finally, fifth, learning is action-centered beyond the campus. Now let's look at where you learn. Now we call that life in the forest. And why is that? And it's because our campus is made of wooded hills and rolling lawns. And if you haven't already seen our campus, once you do, you'll see why it's called the University in the Forest. Now, even though we're in this beautiful forest setting, still all you would expect from college life exists right here at Drew. Fun, friends, and a bright future are right here at Drew. And then a short walk puts you right in the middle of downtown Madison. A little quaint downtown section with little cafes and boutiques and little quaint shops that you will absolutely love. And then in contrast, a short train ride takes you directly into New York City, the capital of Western civilization. So Drew puts you in the center of it all. Now, in addition to learning on our beautiful campus, students also learn in other settings. For example, our Wall Street semester and our United Nations semester is where students actually have instruction on site in New York City at the Stock Exchange and the UN. In addition, our New York semester on art, where you could be in a Brooklyn studio with a new artist discussing how nature inspires you both. Next, you could be at the Metropolitan Museum of Art debating the political meaning of a Kandinsky work with a classmate. And so from the Museum of Modern Art in New York City to Soho, this is another part of where you learn about modern art at Drew. Now where are some of the other locations where you learn at Drew? Two other opportunities are our Drew International Seminars and many opportunities to study abroad. Through these options, our students spend a semester in countries virtually all over the world, including Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. This is a wonderful opportunity for students. And now, the best part. Finally, when you graduate, you will have a path into the world. Now, we've designed a 4-step curriculum that puts you on a natural path from campus to career. So let's go down them step by step. First, step 1, on-campus opportunities. You start your full impact learning. Step 2, off-campus experiences, where you connect the lessons to actions through community engagement and immersion seminars. Step 3, professional internships, where you can apply your skills and knowledge. And finally, step 4, career success, the launch of your full impact life. Now, this is the full Drew experience. Now, I want to share some statistics with you about our graduates. 95% of Drew graduates are employed or in graduate school within 1 year after graduation. Now, that's very good news in today's economy. 95% of our graduates employed or in graduate school within 1 year after graduation. Also, let me share this. 91% feel prepared for a variety of career options. And the vast majority of our students cite the lasting influence of our Drew faculty had on their lives. What I'd like to do now is just to share a little bit of information about one of our graduates from the class of 2011. He was an economics major by the name of Will Brackett. And this I'm going to share with you why Will believes Drew was perfect for him. First of all, Drew landed a job with the prestigious J.P. Morgan Chase before graduation. This was done thanks in part to the networking opportunities he had during his work with the Wall Street semester. And this is according directly to Will. He said it was instrumental in providing him with opportunities to get his name out there. So says Will Brackett. Now, having said all that, I would like to outline our presentation today. First, you will hear an overview of our academic programs at Drew by one of our distinguished faculty members. Next, we will provide you with information about applying as a transfer student here at Drew. Next, that will be followed by a panel of students who will talk about student life here at Drew University. And finally, there will be a question and answer session where you'll be able to present your questions about the presentation today. Thank you very much. Now, at this time, I would like to introduce to you Professor of History and our Program Director of Pan-African Studies, Lily Edwards, to provide you with an overview of academic programs available here at Drew. Thank you once again.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Lily Johnson Edwards. I am Director of Pan-African Studies at Drew, and I'm also a member of the History Department. I've been teaching at Drew for 21 of my 33 years of teaching, and so I'm so very delighted to talk to you about the academic programs of which I've been a part for 21 years. I think the most important aspect of academic programs at Drew is that we have an excellent body of faculty who are so very much committed to your success. And every component then of the academic programs is really designed to ensure that success. At Drew, that academic success in some ways really begins with one-on-one advising with a faculty member in the department in which you're interested in order to ensure not only your success, but also that you take full advantage of the variety of courses that we have offered in our departments and programs. The advising also does some of the things that Mr. Tate has already discussed. Advising includes figuring out ways in which you can connect your Drew experience to the rest of the world. It includes talking to you about your strengths and the places where those strengths can really be used and fine-tuned at Drew, but also advising to discuss with you perhaps some options that you never considered, to give you an opportunity to in fact try something new. Most of our academic experiences, as Mr. Tate has said, will prepare you very well for life after Drew, for life in the real world. And I think the reason why we're successful in doing that for our students is because we prepare you to be flexible, to be agile, to be creative, as well as being intellectual, because we know that the marketplace is constantly changing, and we prepare our students to take advantage of new opportunities that may not even exist today. We want you to be so exposed to the broad life of the mind that, in fact, you can take advantage of any new opportunity that might come forth in your future. I can give you one example of that. I have an advisee now who's a political science and history double major, and he came to Drew set on law school. From his very first year as a freshman, talked about law school. As a sophomore, talked about law school. He participated in our United Nations program. And then he had an opportunity to participate in our Washington, D.C. program, but thought, I'm not really interested in politics. I really want to pursue law. But I convinced him, you never know what may happen when you go to Washington and who you might meet. Well, he has just finished up that Washington program this spring semester and has shifted from wanting to be a lawyer to wanting to do public policy, with his goal of going to one of Harvard's policy programs when he graduates from Drew. And I just give you that as one example of how students may come to Drew with one focus in mind. We'll help you develop that, but we'll also encourage you to explore. Now, you can achieve this success, academic success at Drew, in several ways. We, of course, require that you have a major and declare that major. But many students will also opt to have two majors, or you may decide to have a major and a minor as well. We also have general education requirements, which give you that very broad breadth and agility and flexibility I talked about earlier, because you'll have a very broad knowledge in many, many different subjects, which will serve you well in the future, in addition to the concentration in your major. At Drew, of course, we have the traditional departments. In the natural sciences, of course, we have, for example, biology, chemistry, and physics. In the humanities, we have, for example, history and English, philosophy, classics, religion. In the arts, we have a wonderful theater, music, and art programs. And then in the social sciences, we have psychology, sociology, political science, economics, anthropology, and also business. But in addition to these traditional departmental areas, Drew has many interdisciplinary programs. And these are programs that combine coursework and combine faculty from different departments. Just to give you a few examples of those, it would include neuroscience, which is a very popular major in the sciences. It includes environmental studies and sustainability, one of our fastest growing interdisciplinary majors for those interested in the environment. Pan-African studies for students who want to study not only the history and cultures within the continent of Africa, but also African American studies and Caribbean studies. It includes women and gender studies as well. So there are ways in which you can take the traditional route of traditional departments, but we also offer these interdisciplinary programs. One of the newest programs, in fact, that's coming on board is a minor in film and media studies, which will be very exciting, and many of our students are looking forward to this new option. So our academic programs tend to be both traditional as well as very innovative and very creative. Within the curriculum, each department will have courses that are both introductory level, intermediate level, and upper level. They will have some requirements on each of those three levels. Some courses will have prerequisites where you have to take a lower level class in order to take an upper level class, but that in general will depend upon the particular department. In addition to that, students are required to take a capstone in their major, usually in the senior year, sometimes in the junior year. The capstone experience, whether it's in the performing arts or in the chemistry lab or doing research for history, is a wonderful opportunity for students to design their own project, to show that they can work independently and in a mature way, and you work very closely with a faculty member to develop your project or performance or artistic production. And so the capstone experience is something that majors can really look forward to experiencing at the end of their academic career. And then we have also, within every department, an honors program. And the honors project, if students meet the academic criteria, is an actual year-long project. For our students, it becomes the most wonderful experience of being able to choose a topic that you're very much committed to, very interested in, and you work on that project, for the most part, one-on-one with one of the faculty members. For students in history, it may mean they write a 50 or 60-page paper. One of my students this year wrote an honors thesis entitled "The Joke's on You." And she looked at women and African Americans as stand-up comics and what that might express about gender and race in America. I had another history student who looked at forms of punishment in colonial New England and how stress and fear of attacks and problems with food and the economy meant that more people were put into the stocks. A wonderful, wonderful project, and she is now going to graduate school. And so these kinds of projects, as well as the senior projects in the arts and in theater and in music, allow students really to express not only what they've learned, but also to express their individuality. Mr. Tate has talked to you about our international and off-campus programs. And one of the things that students can also take advantage of, whether it's in your major or outside of it, are off-campus experiences. Many of them are directly connected to your major and therefore count toward not only toward graduation, but also count toward your major or minor. Just to give you some examples, there are summer programs in Italy and in Spain from our language departments. There's a London semester, which may count for the theater department or the history department or the English department. There are short-term programs. For example, students returned just a few weeks ago from Ghana in West Africa, which was a program in sociology and Pan-African studies. Next January, we will be taking students to South Africa, which will be a program combining history and Pan-African studies. We also have a Wall Street semester for those in business studies, a New York semester in arts administration, and I've already mentioned to you the UN semester in New York and the DC semester for those in political science. But we also have internships, some of which are local in New Jersey and New York. There are internships in the summer. I had a history major a few years ago who had an internship at the National Football League Foundation. And she was able to use in her work some of her interview skills she learned in her research methods class in history. I had an intern who just finished an internship, a local one, helping a local town form an entirely new organization to promote business. And she was there from the very beginning to help design that project. And then finally, many of our academic departments also have clubs that are designed and run by students. There's a political science club, a sociology club, and this allows students a great deal of independence in planning programs and speakers and forums and panels on topics that are of particular interest to students. Some academic programs are also connected to theme houses. And in that case, for the theme houses, those dormitories where students have chosen to live together in a community because they have similar interests, they also have programming in those dormitories, in that residential space, which also gives students a great deal of responsibility and authority in deciding what interests them and what kinds of activities they would like to bring to Drew from outside of the classroom. So I hope I've given you a description that in some ways is very traditional for departments, majors, minors. But you should also see the way in which Drew is such an exciting place that we very much encourage students to, as individuals and as groups, to help us define the academic community, to define the intellectual discourse, to define the co-curricular programming outside of the classroom. And in that sense, we want students to take responsibility for their own learning, to be part of the process. We want to challenge you, but in challenging you, Drew faculty are very committed to also nurturing you and being mentors in your programming here. We hope that the breadth and depth of what we have to offer will fine-tune the skills and the talents and the gifts you already bring to us. And our job is to really work for you and to enhance that talent and those skills. Thank you very much. It was wonderful talking to you about Drew's academic programs. If you have any additional questions, they will be answered at the end of this webcast. And now it's my pleasure to bring to you one of our admissions counselors, and she will be able to speak with you in some detail about the admissions process, the application process, and also any questions you may have based upon what you've heard from Mr. Tate and from me. I wish you a very, very good summer, a very enjoyable, productive, and safe summer. Thank you so very much.
Hello, good evening. Again, welcome to Drew. Thank you for tuning in and joining us in this webcast. We wanted to bring as much information to you as we could, as we believe the best decisions are based on the most of the information gathered. So my name is Frances Field, and I am the transfer counselor here at Drew. And what I do is I assist students throughout the admissions process through application. I have helped to answer questions regarding what courses are likely to transfer for them, what they need to make successful application, what makes a strong transfer student to Drew, and some of the experiences that transfer students can expect. So I help to work with them through those concerns, to help alleviate some of the fears of moving from one college setting to the next. So in getting started, I usually direct students to the drew.edu website. There it's very informative. Clicking on the admissions page and going to undergraduate admissions and clicking on the admissions page and how to apply, there's a wealth of information there for you. You can also apply directly online from that website. But I should let you know that for transfer students, sometimes the information can get a little bit tricky and sometimes it might not be as clear. But for transfer students to Drew, they are not required to present SAT scores or graded papers or ACT scores. Standardized testing is removed as a requirement for transfer students. We do, however, ask that the high school transcript be sent in um, along with official copies of all colleges attended with final grades if they're available. Um, and we also ask the student to complete a written essay. And for transfer students, what they'll usually write about will include in some form the reasons behind their transferring and what they're kind of looking for in a new school that maybe their previous school was not able to provide for them. So that's usually what transfer students will write about in their essay. And it doesn't have to be, very long. We're not looking for a thesis type essay. It can be a full page, but written really well with strong mechanics. And when it comes when it comes down to the recommendations, although on the website it may appear as though you need three, well, for transfer students, you really only need one. You only need one letter of recommendation. However, that letter of recommendation should come from someone, a faculty member or an academic advisor from the student's most recently attended college. So the last college attended or the one that you will be transferring from. So it's only one letter of recommendation. Once all of that information is received, we're able to the, complete the file and present it to the admissions committee, who will then review it, go over through, maybe see if the admissions requirements are being met, and a decision comes up. Now, unlike freshman applicants, where the process and the review process could take a little bit longer, transfer students it doesn't take quite as long. We're able to turn that around rather quickly because the the bulk of the decision or the information used for the decision by the committee is based on the student's collegiate level performance, not so much as the high school. It's all based on the collegiate level performance. So it makes the review process it can go a little bit faster. And besides that, we've moved to everything is electronic, so that even makes it much quicker for decisions to turn around for transfer students and for the information to come back out. So that's that's the process for transfer applicants to apply to Drew, and we'll turn it around and get it over. Now, the other thing too, which I get a lot from transfer prospects, is how many of their credits will transfer in. And I can say this, that Drew is very generous in open to accepting transfer credits. And that's looking at and giving students credit for the majority of the work that they've already completed, provided that the the grade received is no less than a C, and that there's at least a comparable course available here at Drew to be able to match that course directly to. So for the most part, students that are transferring into Drew usually can expect to receive at least 95% of the work that they've completed. I can let you know that, and I don't take it to 100% because Drew doesn't necessarily accept credit for anything in math or any course below pre-calculus. Introduction to computers is usually not transferable for credit, but for the most part, every other subject matter is, providing it's college level and not basic skills. Okay? I'm getting some questions here, so I'm going to just jump right in and answer one. If you don't mind, I'm going to put my glasses on first. All right, so I can see this. Robert is asking, are transfer students allowed to submit more than one letter of recommendation? And if so, would that help their chances of being accepted to Drew University? Transfer students you can submit as many letters of recommendation that you want. And those recommendations could help if a student's feeling that they would like to have the additional support for their application, then by all means you can submit them. But for the most part, it's not required, but certainly if you feel that you would like to have additional recommendations used, by all means, go ahead and submit them. I would say yes. Why not? Okay. We'll take one more question, and then I'll go back to going through the process for you. We have a question from Meredith, who states, you admitted to Drew but chose to attend another liberal arts school for your freshman year, and reconsidering as you was recruited as an athlete. In the school I'm currently attending, I was offered significant athlete support during my first application. How would I be considered for academic aid? Okay. Well, you would be considered pretty much basically the same way. However, there is one big difference in that any package that was awarded to you as a freshman candidate, unfortunately, is removed, and that's mainly because you're coming in under a new applicant status. So you're coming in as a transfer student. While Drew does award merit aid to transfer students, it's just on a different range, and it's based on the student's academic performance at the collegiate level, not secondary. As you remember, you called me hearing me say that a little bit earlier. So that would be based on your cumulative grade point average from the last college attended, and that can range anywhere from 5,000 to upwards of 16. So that in itself is pretty generous for transfer students. Unlike a lot of these special merit awards that were available as freshman applicant, you don't need to necessarily go through any additional steps. That is something that would be considered at the point when your application is being reviewed for admission. So that would be something we would look at. And if you were eligible to receive a merit award based on your cumulative grade point average from the last college attended, that would automatically be awarded to you, and you would receive your formal notification in the mail. Via electronic means. With regards to the other traditional forms of financial aid, the Pell, the TAG, and the need-based grants, you can certainly apply for that. Those would be the same. Okay, so I hope I answered that one for you. And if I talk too fast, or if you need me to go over something again, just send me a quick message, and I'll be happy to answer it for you. Okay, so again, going back to the process. As I said, once everything's in, we do a review, and we try to get that decision right back out to you. All right, we do highly encourage students that are interested in transferring to visit the campus, okay? Because how you feel when you're visiting a college campus, really should have a big impact on what your decision will be. Because you should feel comfortable there. You should be able to see yourself there, and you should be able to see yourself being successful there. And that's an important thing. So we do support that, and we do encourage that, and we do offer campus tours, and you can register for them online. We also don't necessarily require interviews for transfer candidates. However, we can, if going through, if we think that, an interview would support your application, we may initiate an interview. We will contact you and invite you in for one. Or you, of course, can initiate an interview. All right, if you feel that you want to do so to support your application, that will be fine. So in terms of the interview, it can go either way. We can initiate, you can initiate, and it's fine. But as being a mandatory as it was years ago, it's no longer a mandatory process. Um, your transfer, once your official transcripts are received, the actual credit evaluation is completed by the registrar's office, and normally that's done within 2 weeks of an admissions decision going out to you. So within 2 weeks, you would know exactly how your credits are comparing to Drew, which credits have been accepted, and how they would fall into your academic major or academic area of interest. Um, this is great. I'm loving these questions. I'm really loving these questions. Let me hold on for a second. Let me take another one. The deadline, Meredith wants to know, what is the deadline for the application for fall 2013? And will it be studying abroad for a portion of the summer and need to know deadlines? Okay. Um, the deadlines for the fall semester uh, for transfer applicants will be July 1st. However, we will continue to review applications maybe about a week past that. So what I would highly advise you to do is to go online, complete your Drew application, go ahead and submit it electronically, and then you won't have to worry. And you can go ahead and take your summer trip and break, and we'll communicate with you via email. So just make sure that information, double check your email, and make sure that it's recorded correctly, and that's how we will contact with you. So you can go ahead, you can actually submit that at any time, but preferably before July 1. If you can't get it in by July 1, we'll continue to just go, we'll review it. Just, the important thing is to get it in so that it's on the radar, all right? Okay. Do you have any other questions out there? All right. If you can hold on 1 second, this would be a great time to take a break. So I'm going to give you about a 5-minute break, and I will return right away. So stand up, stretch your legs, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Thank you. Hope you stretched your legs out because I certainly did. All right, and I actually thought the students were not going to do it. It's after hours, and I told them to just tap because I didn't want them to really interrupt the webcast. But I don't want to miss them either because they're going to come in and they're going to speak to you from a student perspective, which I think is a really great idea, and you can get some really valuable, insightful information from them as a student. So what I'm going to do now, Robert had sent me a question, and that's why I put my glasses on so I can read it. I'm trying to map out my transfer plan as soon as possible, so I was wondering when will we start accepting applications for the fall 2014 semester? Okay. Application review for transfer students only for the fall 2014 semester will begin immediately after we close out the spring because Drew University does accept transfer students for both the fall and the spring semesters. So once we close out the spring, we begin the review process for transfer students entering in for fall 2014. So now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to wait until February to submit your application. You can submit your application at any time. What you want to do is to just make sure that you indicate that the semester that you're intending to apply is fall 2014. All right, so usually students will start applying if it's going to be for the next fall. Usually they'll start applying in December, January, and then of course throughout February, March, April, and up to July. But feel free to submit your application then. And of course, as I said earlier, you can certainly do that online. But many times it's always recommended that you get the application as early as possible because you're then, of course, on the radar, right? So, and you'll get the latest information and up-to-date information and invitations to different events that might be of interest to you. So I hope I answered that one for you. And still looking for more questions, so it'll be great. And once the students come in, what they're going to do again is give you that perspective, the insight from the student perspective. So, and they're very good at it. So, and one right now is one of the student leaders for orientation, which we have going on this week for new students. So that's some really good information there. And another one of the students actually works on campus, actually works here in the admissions office when she's not in class. So, they have a wealth of information that they could share with you. So make sure that you ask them. I think that the best decisions, if you're going to transfer, you want to transfer to the right place so that you don't have to find yourself transferring out and transferring to a new place. I like to talk when I'm talking to transfer students and advising with them and going over options with them. Is that when you're transferring, you want to kind of keep that to a minimum. So I indicate, you can hold on 1 second. I think your student panelists arrived. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for that. Of course, you can see it's after hours. I'm the only one here. But I'm really enjoying this, and I hope that you are too. Again, you want to minimize that amount of time. So, as many questions as you can ask. You visit the campus. If you want to come in and speak with a counselor one on one, bring copies of your transcripts with you. We here at Drew are happy to sit with you individually and go over your transcript and alleviate, if we can, answer as many questions as we can about the process and what your transcript will look like, um, what courses are most likely to transfer in for you. We are happy to do that for you, because again, we're believing that you want to get it right. So we're going to work with you and to ensure that's as smooth a process as possible. Okay, do we have any other questions floating around out there? Just jump right in. I'm happy to answer them. Let's see, but I'm thinking of other things I would like to share with you. Do you have any? Because usually the students want how many. That's a good one. How many credits can a student transfer into Drew? For Drew, as I said, again, stated a little bit earlier, is very generous and they are very interested in helping the student. They want to see the student get as much credit for previous work that they've already completed. So here at Drew, the student can transfer in up to 80 credits. Right, that's pretty good. There's a 128 degree requirement, so Drew will accept up to 80 credits, um, and so long as the student the actual diploma requirement or to graduate from Drew will require of I think it's a 48 or 46 credit um, resident requirement. That is what I'm trying to get to, a resident requirement. So if you attended a couple of colleges, or if you've attended a community college and then you went to another four-year college and then you want to transfer and you're thinking, I'm wondering if all of these credits will go in, it doesn't hurt to ask. You can always send the transcript through. Of course, we will look for it. Okay. Um, we also get questions about athletics. We are a Division III school. We have quite a number of teams that are formal. We do have uh, uh, just about every team with the exception of football and bowling. But we have a very good tennis team. We have a fencing team. We have softball, um, both male and female teams. There's soccer, and there is also intramural rugby. Here at Drew, that's a great point too. Here at Drew, the intramural sports are very popular. They're very popular. They're very big, and the students take them almost as seriously as the formalized and organized sports teams that we have on campus. Um, but students are involved, whether it's as part of the formal team or as part of an intramural team. There's always something to do on campus. But again, we are Division III. Um, so for those of you that are interested in contacting any one of the coaches, the athletic page that's available, again, at the Drew website, very informative. And all of the contact information that you're going to be looking for to make contact with our sports teams or the coaches, it's available for you right there. Now, is it possible for a student to participate in one of the teams if they haven't been recruited by one of the coaches? Of course it is. The student when they have when the beginning of the training season opens up, students are encouraged if that's what you're interested in, you can walk on, and and try out. They'll welcome that. Okay, let's see. I have another question coming up here. Let me take a look here. Robert wants to know, do you accept leadership transcripts or transcripts to show all of the volunteering leadership and extracurricular involvement at Drill? Yes, we do. We do accept them. Does it impact the admissions decision? Yes, it does. Because here at Drew, it's important for the student to be as actively involved outside of the classroom as it is for the student to be involved in the classroom. And that's all part of the full impact learning experience. Drew is looking to develop that student. Again, not just in the classroom, but outside of it as well. So if you can show that, that's definitely taken into consideration when your application is being reviewed. The committee really does look into that. Because again, it's showing that the student can fit in at Drew, that the student is ready to meet that challenge, and they know that this is part of the expectation and that the student is willing to go that extra mile with. So yes, if you have that, by all means, submit it along with your application. Okay? Um, and again, yes, very important, very important. The more you're involved in, the better it is, the stronger it is. All right, let's see, we have another question here. Is there additional, sorry, is there an additional application that you could fill out for financial aid other than the FAFSA? No, there is no other additional form. The university a couple of years ago did away with the CSS form, which they required students to complete for the Drew grant university funded grants. But they've done away with that now, so the only form that's required of a student is the federal FAFSA form. Okay, so once you complete that, they will take that information is used to consider your eligibility for most of the aid. Again, it's separate from merit. Merit is something that comes and is awarded to you via the admissions office based on your academic performance. The information that's retrieved from the FAFSA is based on your family index, okay? And the financial aid office determines that. But again, only one form, just the FAFSA. Okay, I hope I answered that for you. But again, keep them coming. But what I'm going to do now is, because we're running into that time, I'm going to bring the student panel on. We have two students here for you. I gave you a little bit of insight about them a little bit earlier. One is currently working with the orientation team, welcoming new students to campus. And the other one is one of the students, again, as I said, works here in the admissions office. So if you have any questions and you want to get that insight for student life, go ahead and ask them. I'm sure they'll be happy, but they won't jump in and begin to answer the questions until the presentation rounds up a little bit so that we can kind of keep it moving through for you, okay? So feel free to type in any questions that you have directly for the student, but if they don't answer it right away, don't think they're ignoring it, because they're not, okay? We're just going to kick that back in and answer them as the time moves along. Right? So right now, if you'll excuse me for just a moment, I will go out to get them and I will bring them in. They will introduce themselves and then they'll take over the presentation for the next 20 minutes or so. All right? So hold on. Okay, thank you for holding on. We have the students here for you. All right, so have a seat there. Just pull up so that you come into focus. So. And have a great time. And don't forget, ask them anything you want. They're great.
So I'll start. My name is Carmine. I am a rising senior, and I'm a history major and a Russian studies minor. I am some things I'm involved on campus is student government, the orientation committee, resident hall association. I have several jobs on campus as well.
My name is Neil Monopoly. Yeah, I like the board game. I'm an anthropology major and an archaeology and Italian minor. I am the secretary of BOAS, which is the anthropology club on campus, and I am currently working here at admissions.
So feel free to ask whatever you guys would like. So housing is guaranteed all 4 years, no matter what. Transfer first years, housing is always guaranteed. You guys have any other questions for us? We're happy to answer anything.
Okay, so did you both come from community colleges or four-year universities? I came here from high school, so I'm not a transfer student.
I also came from I came here straight from high school as a first year, but you know, I do know a lot of transfers. They really fit in so well. Like it comes to the point that I don't even know the difference if you're a first year or a transfer student. Yeah, and because you meet people all 4 years, you meet someone, you meet a bunch of new people every year. So you know. Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't shoot a few questions.
Do you have a gay straight lines at Drew? Yes, we do.
We have a club called the Alliance, which
Mm.
is, you know, deals with all those issues. They do they do a drag show every year. They do, you know, they do a lot of the, yeah, the drag show is really fun this year. They do fun stuff like, I think they do, what else do they do, remember? Yeah, they have a lot of meetings. They do a lot of stuff working with the politics, and it's a really big club on campus. So it's because you know Drew has a big gay community here. So yeah.
Does Drew allow students to attend part-time?
Yeah, to be considered a full-time student, you have to be taking 12 credits. But you know that just means like full-time students means like the whole you know financial aid and stuff. But Drew does work with you. You can take as many credits as you want. I know there's a lot of students. I've had people in my class that would just be there taking that one class. You know, just the adjunct, just sitting there as a not an adjunct as a proxy. Is it? What is it? Where you can just sit into the class and
Okay, yeah.
we don't yeah you don't have to be full time to come here.
How many classes?
To be considered full time, it's 12 credits, which is about 3 classes.
average full-time student take? 4 classes.
Yeah, about 4 classes, 16 credits. But you can take if you go to Drew, you can take anywhere from 3 classes, which is 12 credits, to up to 5 classes, which is 20 credits without having to pay extra. I think if you have to take either 20 or I think it's 21 credits.
Is like the
Yeah, it's the most amount you can take without paying extra. But on average, a student takes about 4 classes, 16 credits.
is it easy to double major at Drew?
I think it's only difficult if you start late. Like if you start from the beginning and you know what you want to do, you can easily do it. I have a friend who's a theater and English double major, but this is something she came in being an English major and then she took a theater class like first semester freshman year or in her first year here, and she decided to become a major in it too, and then like she's been able to finish it just on time, no problem. But it's a lot difficult. It's a lot more difficult if you started later.
After like sophomore year.
Yeah,
It would be really difficult.
but it's definitely possible.
Yeah. Do you have summer classes? Drew?
We do. We do have a plenty of summer classes.
We also have Jan term classes.
We have classes during January. Um, yeah, I mean they're good classes. It's very like any other summer January class. It's very intensive. It's like about 6 weeks long, but we have them across a lot of different disciplines.
Do the summer classes cost the same as classes held during the fall and spring semesters? Yeah, 'cause it's credit.
Right. Well, it's kind of different how it works during the semester because you kind of get like
It's the tuition.
it's a tuition. You have like kind of like a sum, and like you get financial aid and you get all these other things. So when like the summer comes, you have to pay per credit, which I think ends up being around for 4 credit classes ends up being about $2,400.
Are there enough dorms on campus to house all of the students, or do people have to apply early to get on campus housing?
Drew is a guaranteed housing school, so
More than enough housing.
yeah, it works by a lottery system. At the end of March, beginning of April, like students will get a random number, and then like a week or two later, there'll be like an online form that you fill out, and then they'll give you a certain time, and you go to, my housing, and then you'll pick whichever dorms are available at that time.
And it goes by year, so juniors will go first, then sophomores, and freshmen.
Mm-hmm. But you will always be able to live on campus.
Can you tell us a little about your experience at Drew, like experiences with classes and campus life activities?
The most of the classes are very small and it's very personal. Classes only the large classes are usually just the intro classes, which is still only about 30 to 40 students, which is big for Drew, but I know it's a lot smaller compared to like larger schools. The professors are great. Most of them, like, they give you office hours. They are happy for you to stop by and ask for help at any time. And
Even if you want to stop by and just like chat with them, they love if you do that.
yeah, I know a lot of people who are just close friends with their professors, and I know a lot of different fields. Just like they do like a major like softball game at the end of the year. They do like a department like dinner and stuff. They're very very close with their students.
Yeah, in the anthropology department, at the end of every semester, we have potluck, where all the students and professors come together and you bring all the food and you just eat together and talk, and they give books to the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And even my professor just this summer asked me to go to Ecuador with her to survey an area in Ecuador with the tribe, so that was really cool.
Yeah. And in terms of campus life, it's very popular. We have student activities which are constantly planning events. We have traditional events like Holiday Ball, which is a semi-formal dance. At the end of the fall semester, we have
UPB throws a
yeah,
bunch of stuff.
we have a university programming board which does a lot of our traditional events. We have the first annual picnic, which is it's based around a theme, and there's games and there's prizes and there's food, and like there's a bunch of different stuff every year. Um, and then we have a huge club life where we have over 40 clubs, and they're constantly planning events from anywhere from a guest speaker to a cultural dinner to a fashion show. We have constant events going on all the time, and there's always something to do. And it's a very bustling campus. It's always something going on.
So you have a lot of study abroad opportunities. We have a bunch of both, like, we have some in the city, we have the UN semester, we have the Wall Street semester, and we have the contemporary art semester. And you don't have to be in those majors to apply for them. But abroad, we have the London semester, which I'm actually going to in the fall. But Drew also has a list of approved study abroad programs that Drew doesn't run them, but you can apply for them, and Drew will allow you to go.
They'll accept the credits,
Yeah.
and you can take part of your financial aid, and you just apply through a different school, but it's all approved through Drew. We also have a lot of short-term programs, which is anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. It could be, I just came back from Russia for 3 weeks with my professor and about 7 other students. We studied the language. We, hung out with the locals. We visited a lot of churches and museums, and it was a really cool experience. It's something I've never experienced before in my life. So we have these short-term programs which are constantly running, about 6 or 7 every year.
They change the countries
Yeah,
every year.
it's all faculty run, and it's a professor runs it, and it's up to them, and it's constantly changing, and it can be anywhere from right after graduation, right after graduation time, so middle of May to early June. It could be during January. It could be during spring break. So it could it's there's so much flexibility that the professors have, and you have so many opportunities to study almost anywhere in the world.
And those short-term things are called Drew International Seminars. We just call them DISs. Is a semester abroad required at Drew? A semester abroad isn't, but an off-campus activity is.
Yeah, you don't have to study the entire semester, but some sort of off-campus experience is required, like you said. So you can study abroad if you want, but you can also do an internship. You just have to work through the amazing the career center. You just have to work through the career center, and they're great over there. They'll help you with anything. And, you can get your off-campus requirement there.
Does Drew have a lot of internship opportunities?
We have a ton. The best part about Drew is that it's right by the city, and we're right by the train station, so it's literally like a 10-minute walk to the train station, and about an hour to the city, and you have so many opportunities there. One of the great things about our New York programs that you get a lot of internships through. So you work at Wall Street, you work at UN, you work at the Contemporary Art Semester, and you meet so many people, and that's where you build these internships too. I have a friend who's doing UN next semester, and he's gonna try and get an internship there. So and then almost every day, the Career Center sends out emails being like, go to Drooling. We have there's all these opportunities, and here's some internships if you guys are interested in it. And they have also events where big people come in, and you can meet them and start internships there. So Drew is there's so many internship opportunities here at Drew.
Professors will also help you out. If they have connections, they'll help you find an internship. I'm a student ambassador at my current school, so I help out with new student orientations and other events. It is a paid position. Did you have a similar program?
Yeah, we actually have a lot of similar programs like this. We do have at admissions, we do have a sort of student ambassador program where students interested in coming to Drew can come to admissions. They hang out with the Drew student for the day and kind of ask them any questions that they have. Like I said, I'm part of the orientation committee. I'm actually the coordinator this year. Most of the time, it's only a paid position. Being in the it's a volunteer position being in the orientation committee. So it's you start in the fall in the spring semester, and you have weekly meetings. You have retreats as well, and then you come a week early because usually we have orientation for the new students right before the semester begins. So the orientation committee would come right before the orientation begins. They get some training, and then they go right into working orientation. It's all volunteer unless unless you apply to become a coordinator. The coordinator position is paid, but you spend the entire summer through working here and helping set up the orientation and stuff. But it's actually a great experience. You meet amazing people, and working with the new students is absolutely wonderful.
Are there a lot of on-campus job opportunities?
There's a ton. It's I'm sure you know, but there's a work study that you can get through financial aid, and a lot of on-campus jobs accept those, and a lot of jobs only hire with work study, but a lot don't. I worked at the library, which is a great place to work. I worked for residence life. I worked with student activities. You can become a peer mentor and um, help out for a freshman seminar. These are all paid positions, and some of them require work study, some of them don't. And I know you get weekly emails as well, being like, here's some people hiring. Feel free to apply. You know, you can work at the gym. There's so many places you can work.
There's also a forum where they'll update new positions, old positions that have been filled. I mean, I've worked at 3 separate places since I've gotten here. I've worked at the athletics department. I've worked as a tutor, and I'm now here at admissions. About how many clubs on campus to get involved in? Well, a lot.
Thank you.
I have a question.
How many clubs?
Yeah.
Oh, well, first of all, we're very happy to help. I love doing this. I love meeting new students, telling them about Drew. I love Drew so much. That's why I do all the things I do. So we're very happy to help. In terms of clubs, we have an overwhelming amount.
I can't even place a number.
Yeah, I'd say well over 40. I used to be the budgets and appropriations chair for student government, and what I would do is I would have a board, and we would delegate funds to all the clubs, and we also have something called the Student Organization Advisory Board, which is called SOAB. They would review clubs and approve new clubs, and we constantly get new club proposals every year. We have clubs ranging from cultural clubs like Ariel, our Latin American club, Chow, our Italian club, the Polish club, Russian club, French club. We have diversity clubs like Kumba, which works with kind of like Caribbean, the people from Caribbean, like African Americans from Caribbean and African Americans. We also have DASA, which works with African Americans. Well, not African Americans, but just Africans. We also have, educational clubs that work with departments like DEVS, which works with economics and business, DUNS, which is music, DUDS, which is Drew University Drama Society, which is the theater. So, and also, well, we have so many. We've also had a new club called Drew First Responders, which which is kind of like student run, and they would first go to a situation if there's an emergency. Um, there's a ton. You can almost find a club for everything here, and if you don't, then you can just easily start a new club. There's a process online if you go to the student activities website, and you fill out a form, you find an advisor, you get student interest, and you can easily find anything to help you out.
I'm an English major, so what can you tell me about the English department and its classes?
The English major is actually a huge major. It has a lot of professors. It has so many different aspects to it. neither of us are English majors, but I know one of my friends is one of my close friends. She's an English major, and I look at it and it's you can take anything from a Shakespeare class to like modern English, like an English class, like modern literature. You can find almost like anything, and like the English department here is amazing. I
The 2 semesters, the 3 semesters, Rio.
Yeah,
Rise out.
we have there's one of the big core classes is it's actually it's like it's every half semester it's a different course and it's taught two professors for each half semester and it's an intensive like English courses where you pretty much they're nicknamed Rio, which stands for Read Your Eyes Out, which is literally reading a very
book a night.
yeah, it's insane. But you start with Beowulf and Gaul all the way to modern history in modern literature in 1 year. But the faculty here is, I've heard nothing but good things about them. They're super helpful. It's a very powerful department here. I'm considering taking an English class next semester. It's video games and virtual reality. Yeah, it sounded really interesting. I mean, they have all these interesting things. There's actually a popular one that just sprung up this past semester, which was blogs, tweets, and social media. Which that one, I was just talking to someone about it yesterday, and they said it was one of their. They weren't even an English major, and they said it was phenomenal. So there's so many. It's a very diverse major.
As a transfer student, so I'm a little worried about general education credits transferring. What are the general education requirements at Drew?
So we have something called breadth requirements, which is basically kind of like the general requirements. It's an art class. It's considered like an arts requirement, a social science requirement, which is a psychology or sociology class. Natural science, breadth natural science, which is biology or chemistry. We have interdisciplinary, which is a class that generally takes two different fields and merges them into one. For example, biopsychology or public health, and humanities. So, like a philosophy or history course. We also have two quantitative, which are pretty much like a math course, but there's a lot of so it would be like statistics or
I took archaeology.
There's a lot of different courses that incorporate math, but they might not be math heavy.
Like there's a really popular astronomy class.
Yeah, astronomy counts as natural science and a quantitative, and it's made for non-science majors, so it's a really interesting class. The professor's amazing. There's also diversity requirements, so it's diversity international and diversity in the United States. So this could be in any field you're interested in, and it can be almost anything. There's also the off-campus requirement, like we talked about earlier, which requires studying off-campus, whether it's a study abroad or an internship. And there's also writing in the major, which you'll have to take anyways to complete the major, because there's a writing in the major for every major. And then you have to take 2 writing intensive courses, which it may sound, it sounds scary, but it's basically a writing intensive course requires a paper that goes through mostly the writing steps. So it'd be you'd have to get a bibliography, you'd have to do a rough draft, you'd have to go through a peer review process. So it's just kind of investing a lot, almost the entire class on writing the paper. Is there anything else that I forgot?
But even though it sounds like a lot, you tend to finish them within your major. So the breadth requirements can count for not another breadth requirement, but for a quantitative or in a U.S. diversity. And you tend to finish them within your major.
Yeah. I also forgot there's also a language requirement, which is you have to take at least 3 semesters of any language. but you can take a placement test for any of the languages, and you can score into a higher level or score out of the language requirement entirely. Like for example, I took the Spanish placement, and I scored into the 3rd level, so I just took 1 semester of Spanish and I was done.
Do most students finish in 4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not very difficult. You have great advisors that keep you on track. Even if you decide to switch, I switched. I switched my major from neuroscience to history about at the end of my sophomore year, and I'm going to finish next May just on time. So I mean, most students don't have any problem as long as they're focused and do everything they need to do.
Does the school offer a lot of financial aid?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of financial aid. A lot of it, merit based and need based, and it's Drew's blind. It's talking about this. It's need blind. I think it's called. Like it won't take your
Families.
income into account and
Income.
income blind. That's what we're called. Drew's income blind. But I get at least a substantial amount of financial aid. I'm very fortunate. And, you know.
How much does a semester cost, including room and board? Per semester.
Per semester?
Yeah.
Well, per semester it's about 24,000 a semester with room and board. No, it's more than
No.
that. I lied. It's definitely more than that. 28.
Yeah.
It's about $28,000 a semester with room and
That's
board.
with no financial aid.
Right. That's the full amount is 28,000 a semester. Oh, yeah.
You have multicultural affairs office. Oh,
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I can't. You can look on the website. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure.
Does the school offer free tutoring?
Tutoring is free through, and you're all taught by, all the tutors are Drew students too, so they're all great.
And they're all students, like say you have a problem with a certain class and you want a tutor, they're all students who have previously taken that class and received an A. Yeah. Do they have tutors for all subjects offered at the school?
Honestly, I think, I mean, they will have they always have like the popular ones like Spanish and statistics, but if you send in like an application like you need a tutor for X, then they'll find a student, they'll reach out to the professor, be like, we need a student to tutor this, and the professor will usually find someone for
So
that.
it changes like every semester.
Yeah, it's basically it's all based on student needs. Yeah.
We'll take one more question and then say goodbye. If you had to pick between Drew and an Ivy League school, would you still pick Drew? I would still pick Drew. Drew's a very small private school. It's not enormous, and you don't have lecture halls full of 1,000 students where your professor doesn't really know you. You become very close to your professors. All your professors know you by name. I love my small classes, so I would definitely pick Drew over an Ivy League.
I would pick Drew because it had such a huge impact on my life. I met so many great students, so many great administrators. I want to work in administration because of the experiences I've had at Drew that I feel like I can't have almost anywhere else. Working so closely with the amazing faculty and administration, they really inspire me to just, kind of work in the, college atmosphere. And I really like love Drew, and I blame for all my experiences I've had. It's been one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life so far. And we're very happy to help. If you have any questions, feel free to, reach out to us. We're always happy to help. So we're gonna head out then. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I'm back, and I hope you enjoyed that. It sounds like it was getting pretty exciting in here. I'm really happy for you guys. You seem like you had some really good questions going on there. So if any now, I wanted to find out and to check. Can you, if you think back through the entire program, if there's anything that you have that you want to ask me right now, you can certainly feel free to. We still have a couple more minutes before the program wraps up for the evening. But before we do, I just want to make sure that I take the time to say thank you for visiting with us. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation from the different individuals that you heard from. Mr. Tate, Director of Enrollment Outreach, Professor Edwards, faculty chair for the Pan American Studies, myself, Frances Field, a transfer counselor, and the two students that you spoke with. We can all be reached. Our contact information is all on the drew.edu website. So if you want to reach out to any one of us individually, feel free to. Again, I'm that person that you would speak to about your application. So feel free to, you can even email me. And I answer all emails and I return all calls, okay? So if anything comes to mind, again, just reach out. Do you have any other questions tonight? I give you a few minutes to think about it. Okay, we have a quick question from Robert, who wants to know about the EOS program. Drew University does have an EOS program. It's granted it's not as large as the average or well the average EOS programs at other four-year colleges. Again, because given our size, the program is just not that large. But we do have one. As for transfer students, it's usually preferred that the transfer student would have been an EOS candidate at the previous school prior to transferring into Drew. It makes it that much easier for them. Now, it's not to say that students that were not EOS at the previous school doesn't mean they can't be EOS at Drew. No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. But for students who were EOS at their previous school, it's much easier for them to transfer the status. And and honestly, most of the available spaces, and they are very limited spaces, excuse me, will go to those students who were previous EOS candidates from the very beginning. If there's space available left, they may look in for students who were not EOS eligible at their previous school. But yes, if you're EOS at your school right now, you can transfer your EOS status. Do you have anything else out there? Okay. Well, again, I want to thank you so very much for tuning in and participating in our webcast. We may look into doing this again sometime in the future. So if you would like to get more information about Drew, you can feel free to contact us directly if you choose, and we'll be very happy to put you on into our mailing list and make sure that you get information, more in-depth information of and overviews of what you're receiving today. And you can also get invitations to different events that we may have on campus. So again, feel free to contact us. Thank you again very much. I hope we answered all of your questions, and we're all here and available. Okay? And you are very welcome. We're very welcome. You're very welcome, and we're happy to answer your questions. All right? All right, so I will take this moment to go ahead and sign out and wish everyone a good night. And hopefully I'll be able to talk with you one-on-one soon. All right? Okay. Take care. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.